Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Barely Bookish podcast. Today, we are going to be finishing up Peter Pan, and boy, oh boy, do I have a lot to talk about. So, I am joined today with Rebecca.
Hey everyone.
I am excited to talk about this with you because, boy, do these last chapters get dark.
Yeah. Some crazy stuff here for sure.
Yeah. But let's go ahead and get right on into it. So, we are on to chapter, I think it's 12. I'm really bad with my Roman numerals.
Yeah, I think yes, you're right.
Okay.
Chapter 12. The children are
Excellent.
carried off.
Yeah. So right at the beginning, there's just a bunch of racist
Oh,
paragraphs.
yes.
It's really bad.
It is really bad.
Like they were like talking about how like their war tactics are like tied to their race and like how like certain races are more gentlemanly, and it was really bad.
Talk about painting an entire group of people with one brush. Like, I
Yeah,
mean, even the way he talks about like white people. I mean, it's not true of all white people either. Like
I
it
know.
goes back and forth. It's like, what are you even talking about? You're just like pretending everyone in this one group is all the same. And that's not
Yeah,
true of any group.
I
Any
know.
group. So it's I mean, besides being horribly racist, it's just not accurate or like doesn't make sense at all.
Like, have you ever heard someone go on a racist, like an old person go on a racist rant at a bar? That's what felt like was happening. I was
Yeah.
like, okay,
I thankfully haven't heard that. The most I've heard racist comments, but my grandmother's 93 and grew up in the South. So
mm,
she tends to make some comments occasionally. Though it's like the well meaning kind of racism, you know what I mean? Like,
mm,
oh, I love such as, uh,
yeah,
it, not great either.
yeah.
But no, I have never heard a serious, like, racist rant, thankfully. But yeah, this felt very uncomfortable to read. In fact, I skimmed
Yeah, I
parts of it.
just skimmed over it because I was like, I don't want to take notes on this. Like, this is
No.
terrifying. Hate it.
So basically, all we need to know is that there was a battle
Yeah,
between, the native people and the pirates, and the pirates won, and then the pirates are like
yeah,
ready to catch the kids.
yeah. Apparently, Tiger Lily's tribe always beats a tom tom when they win.
Right.
So, the only smart thing that Captain Hook has ever done was lure them out by beating the tom tom, so that they
Yes.
thought the native people won. And then Hook stations one man at each tree to catch the kids as they get out.
Yeah, and then they just like yeet them. It's like they throw them to this guy, and then
Yeah.
threw them to that guy. Just pass them along.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we're on to chapter 13. Do you believe in fairies? So, yeah, all the kids get kidnapped as they're just being like passed in this like assembly line. Uh and then they like also gag all the boys, but then like they escort Wendy.
Right.
Like what?
That part is interesting, and she kind of likes it.
Yeah.
Like, it says if she had haughtily like pushed Hook away, then she would have been tossed through the air like all the others. But she kind of liked being treated
Like a lady.
differently and
Okay.
like escorted along.
Yeah.
So I mean, this is where people get the whole like, "Oh, Hook is kind of sexy" thing, because he's obviously creepy, but
Yeah.
he can be like elegant in some ways and kind of
Mhm.
charming.
Yeah, it was a
So,
very interesting moment, that's for sure.
mhm.
So apparently, Slightly took and like whittled away at his tree to make it fit him without telling anybody. And I'm still not exactly sure how Captain Hook discovered this.
Yeah, I guess he told them. I don't know. Well, no, it doesn't say that he told them.
Yeah, it was just like it was his secret, dying secret, and no one
Also,
knew.
it's like he was madly addicted to the drinking of water when he was hot. Well, who doesn't like to drink water when they're hot? Like,
Yeah,
what is that all about? Was drinking water not a thing back then?
I don't. Well, no, it's like I guess he's like starving these children, so they're
Right.
all like frail, and
Yes.
he was
And
the only one that like actually. drank water and stayed hydrated.
Apparently he drank so much water that it like swelled him up. Like that's a little much. But it
Yeah.
says he had swelled in consequence to his present girth, and instead of reducing himself to fit his tree, he had whittled his tree to make it fit him, without Peter knowing, apparently, which is a feat in
Yeah.
itself, you know.
But like also that doesn't happen when you drink water.
Right? I don't know what's up with that.
I don't know. I just like I was very uncomfortable with like the amount of comments made on children's bodies throughout this novel.
Yeah, yeah, you're right.
It's a little creepy. So Hook. Oh, one thing I did think was kind of interesting is that Hook and Peter Pan use a lot of sign language in this novel. Like they
Oh
say that
yeah,
they're signing. So
they
I'm like, are they
signal.
actually using sign language or are they like just
I don't know. I think it's more like they're just signaling, you know, like people do in the
yeah?
military or something. I don't know, using their
uh,
own signals, or maybe they
Maybe.
are. I don't know.
I do think it's interesting if they are actually using sign language.
That would be cool.
Yeah, I do like that little addition. Um, so then Hook has the kids like carted away to his ship, and then like they he decided to go down Slightly's tree.
Yeah,
So
that whole scene is just kind of weird to me.
yeah, this
It
whole part,
takes so long, like describing Hook, the way
yeah,
he's biting his lip and the color of his eyes and all this stuff. It's just a little strange.
I know. I was like, we're really far into the novel to hear about what he looks like.
Yeah.
Like the wind rushing through his hair because he took his cap off. I was like, okay. Peter is asleep in bed when Hook comes down the tree. Uh, and then here's one thing, because then we talk about how like he has a lot of nightmares and Wendy comforts him in his sleep. There is a line where it says, soothe him in dear ways of her own invention. And I did not like it. I don't know what that means, but
I
I
mean,
don't
she
like it.
probably just like stroked his hair, his forehead, or whatever.
I don't know. I just like didn't like the wording on that. It made me
Yeah.
uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But it's like I guess he has a lot of nightmares for a child because he's immortal. So
And also probably because he's murdered so much.
yeah, he only gets morals in his dreams.
Maybe, yeah.
So Hook decided that the best way to kill Peter is by poisoning his nighttime medicine, which just to me seems very ineffective.
Right, because he's already asleep. Like the kid probably wouldn't take the medicine again until the next night, right? That
Yeah,
doesn't make any sense for him to do that, but
I know. I will say the thing that was interesting to me is that Hook recognized this medicine.
huh.
So once again, I think it's liquor.
Oh, that's possible.
This is my headcanon. I think that the medicine is like liquor.
Yeah.
It's like knock these
Yeah.
kids unconscious. So, Tinkerbell the next morning told Peter what happened, and Peter jumps to go save everyone, but he decides to make Wendy happy by drinking his medicine before he goes out.
Which if it is liquor, not a great idea probably.
But then the thing too is like, why? You
I
know that
know.
this is a nighttime ritual.
Right. And she's not going to know if you take it or not, dude.
I know it seems like very like haphazardly thrown in. It's really weird.
They just the author just wanted to have the whole scene with Tink almost dying.
Yeah, I think so. So I'm like, yeah, Tink gets in between his lips, drinks it herself, almost dies, but then in like 3 seconds, he asks all the kids that are dreaming of Neverland to clap, and then
And
they
how
do.
and how does he do this? Does he have some power where he can connect to the minds of every child? Like that doesn't make any sense
I
to me.
know.
In this day and age, we've talked about this with this book,
Mhm.
but when we have to like provide like rational cause for the magic and like
Yeah.
structure for the magic, this is really like out of nowhere that he can all of a
Hmm.
sudden talk to all these children at once.
I know, because it's like, are they dreaming of him every single night? Do they interact in Neverland?
Yeah.
Like, how does this work? Like, it's not explained at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it works. So his appeal to them works and saves. And this is kind of a cool part if you've ever watched the play live,
Mm.
because they have the kids in the audience participate
Oh,
for
cool.
this. When Tinkerbell, the actress Tinkerbell or whatever,
Mm.
is dying, then the person who's playing Peter will go around and get the kids in the audience to say they believe in fairies or to clap or whatever.
That's
And so
cool.
that's kind of fun. So if you're watching the play live, that's a cool part.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
I've never seen the play, but that's really cute.
Yeah.
So he ends up saving Tank, which just like this gets resolved so quickly. It's kind of astonishing.
It's magic.
Imagine. So then Peter leaves to go get every single person back. There's a quick turnaround for Peter today.
Yeah.
So then we are on to chapter 14, the pirate ship. Then okay, here's the thing that's interesting. They drop the bomb that apparently Hook is not his real name, and that if we went to public school, we'd probably know who he is.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm like, what does that mean?
I don't know. In the time it was written, maybe he had someone real in mind. Like
Maybe.
he based the character on someone, maybe. I wonder if people would have recognized. It'd be interesting to do research and see if there's any articles like, did someone recognize who the character was based on at any
Mm-hmm.
point? Maybe it was based on someone he knew. But
Yeah.
yeah, it talks a lot here at the end about Hook and his school
Mm-hmm.
and like how that's been such a huge influence and it's always in his head and he's so worried about good form.
Uh huh. I know, but then it's like he literally poisoned a child like
Right.
earlier. That's not
That
good
good
form.
form. And this is like, at the end here that we're being told he's so concerned with good form.
Mm-hmm.
So it seems like maybe it should have been mentioned a little earlier,
Yeah, for
influence his
sure.
actions a bit earlier. But
I know, but I'm like, I guess we'll just throw this in like a little throwaway line. It's fine.
oh yeah,
So Smee also thinks that all the kids fear him because he's like awful to them, but they all kind of adore him and like flock to him, which I think is kind of funny.
yeah,
Because like Smee, I feel like always was that person that like not terrifying at all in any movie
yeah,
that he's portrayed.
right.
Uh, so then Hook decides that they're all gonna walk the plank. And my favorite thing is how all the kids are like trying to distract him, waiting to see if Peter will show up. And they're like, "Oh, I don't want to be a pirate. Do you want to be a pirate, John?" And John's like, "I don't want to be a pirate. How about you, twin?" And like they're just
Mhm.
all talking, and I thought that was really cute.
It's a filibuster, playing for time.
Yeah, I don't blame them. I would also be biding my
Yes,
time.
yeah.
So Smee says he would save Wendy if she promised to be his mother, and she's like, "I'd rather have no kids at all." And I'm like, brutal,
There
Wendy.
you go.
Love
Finally, she
that.
says something I can get behind.
Yeah, mood. So right as the boys are about to walk the plank, they start hearing the tick of the crocodile. So they're all trying, like all the pirates are trying to hide Hook right now, because apparently they've decided that it's fate, so they cannot fight this crocodile. Which,
Apparently,
all right, whatever. So it turns out it's actually Peter ticking, but he signs to them to be quiet so he can get on, so he can get Hook and get on board. So then we are on to chapter 15, Hook or Me this time. So my thing that was interesting here is that Peter talks about how he doesn't realize that he's ticking anymore. Like, at what point do you start and do it for so long that you don't realize you are doing it?
I don't know, but I think it's established that Peter's memory has some
Oh
issues.
yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, that's
Yeah,
gotta happen when you've been alive for like thousands of years,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like at this point, I'm probably assuming he's at least like 100.
Oh yeah. I mean, yeah, it never really says, but it definitely gives the impression that he's
Yeah. The other thing though, I was thinking about, I was like, is when he went back for his mother, do we think it was actually the same woman or a different woman? Because he says how like the window was barred.
who knows? I mean,
Yeah.
did he even how long was it before he went back?
Yeah.
You know? And because yeah, he forgets people. He has no sense of time.
Hmm.
So yeah, who knows?
Yeah. So Peter starts picking off the pirates one by one. First by like throwing them overboard, then he ends up getting into the cabin, and like Hook just keeps sending people into this cabin.
It's like a horror movie, you know? It's
Yeah,
like, stop going down into the basement. Like, stop.
yeah. You're
It's
like, you need
dark and
nothing.
something's killing your people. Like, stop going in there.
Yeah, you don't need anything in there. I know your laundry's
Exactly.
in there, but like, wait till tomorrow. I think it's interesting too. Is like this book could so easily be a horror movie.
Oh, yes. I'm surprised. Like we said before, like, why hasn't anyone done a horror version yet? I mean,
I know.
yeah. All the adaptations have a few horrifying elements, but
Hmm.
like a serious horror movie with this would be, I'd
Yeah,
totally watch it.
from especially from like Hook's point of view,
Yeah.
or even like the Lost Boys point of view.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's right. Like I think we all know that Peter Pan is not the good guy in this.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's Wendy and no one else.
Yeah, pretty much.
So Hook decided to shove all the Lost Boys into the room where Peter Pan is like taking people out because he doesn't realize that's Peter Pan. So he's like, oh, either they'll die and live the same fate anyways, or they'll survive and take Peter out for us,
Yep.
which I just think is really funny. So Peter found the key to get all the boys out and then also snuck around and freed Wendy, who is tied to the mast. So then we get to the final battle of Hook versus Peter. Because Peter's decided that he is no longer letting this get drawn out. It's now or never. So Hook asks Peter who slash what he is, and Peter says youth. And Hook does not like this. I think this is an interesting commentary because it's like this means that the author really wanted us to know that Peter is just not a mortal child.
Right.
Because, like, that would mean if he was a mortal child, that anybody who goes to Neverland lives forever.
Yeah.
Because then he wouldn't have to kill kids that, like, grow up.
Yeah.
So, I thought that was really interesting.
It is. Yeah.
Because I also think it's interesting when, like, authors have elements of the Fae, but then they also have fairies, which are, like,
Right.
Tinkerbell. So I'm
Right.
like, what is he supposed to be in your
Yeah.
mind?
He's something immortal, but it doesn't really explain. He's just like, he's become the essence of youth and like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, just interesting thought experiment, ripe for retellings, obviously.
Yeah.
So Hook is officially dead because Peter kicks him into the crocodile. What a way to end it. So Wendy then puts everyone to bed on the pirate ship because apparently it was like 1 a.m. But like,
Yeah.
does she like have Peter clean out the dead bodies first?
I don't know. And like, imagine the state that the pirates' like beds and bunks and stuff would have been in. I mean, I'm sure it was filthy.
Yeah,
So you're just gonna tuck these kids into like the gross pirate bunks?
I
I don't
know.
know.
And like the thing too that's really gross is like the fact that she was already talking about how like everything's dirty, like even Captain Hook, who's really like prim and proper, his like rough.
Yes, he's been sweating on it and it's like
Yeah,
sweat stained.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm like, so this whole thing is just disgusting. And you're just like, yeah, kids, I know you like got blood and gore on you, but like tuck right into bed. No baths for anyone.
They really need to get home.
Yeah, apparently. So then she also held Peter while he slept because he was crying. And apparently he like doesn't wake up while this happens at all.
Yeah, yeah. He doesn't know
Yeah.
what's going on.
So then we are on to chapter 16, The Return Home. So apparently they just stolen the ship. The ship is theirs.
Yes.
And they like sail home, which I thought is kind of cute because I think that's something we always see in Peter Pan too, is the end scene where he has the pirate ship.
Right. Yeah.
It's like a way better form of transportation, to be
It
honest.
is, rather than flying for days and eating the food from bird beaks,
Yeah.
you just have your own nice ship and
Yeah, if I was Peter, I'd keep that. Sounds good.
definitely.
So they're taking the ship back to London just to get everybody home. And then the author starts like breaking the fourth wall again, which I hate. And then he's like, "Yeah, they're gonna be home on Thursday." And if I could tell Mrs. Darling that she, and then he like the author gets in a fight with Mrs. Darling
Right.
while
And
breaking the fourth wall.
gets all pissed about it and
Yeah,
stuff and like, let's just watch and say nasty things in the hope that some of them will hurt.
yeah. And I was like, okay, why
What
would you do that?
what is going on?
Literally. So, and then they like start talking about how Mr. Darling like sleeps in the kennel right now to like as punishment, and he like carries it around to work and everything, and just stays
Yes.
inside of this kennel.
And he's like popular. People
Yeah,
like they and I was thinking this is like some TikTok person doing something like wacky and
yeah,
everyone just jumps on it. And so he's like TikTok famous now, And his wife's like, "Is this still a punishment?" And he's, "Of course it is. I'm not enjoying this at all."
I know. I was thinking the same thing. I was like, yeah, 100% TikTok famous, Mr.
Yeah.
Darling.
Yeah.
So, Peter tries to get Tink to come in. They come in first, and then they like try and get Tink to bar the windows so that like they'll think the mother no longer wants them, and he'll like they'll want to stay in Neverland. And he like does it, and then he like watches Mrs. Darling cry, and he was like, okay, fine, whatever. And then he like opens up the windows again.
Yeah. That part's kind of cute because it's like, he thought his own mother didn't care about him. Well, obviously, this mother is like she cares intensely for her
Yeah,
children. And like that touches Peter's mischievous, fey heart or whatever. And
yeah,
he like has pity on her. It's kind of
I
a cute
know.
scene.
I thought it was really cute, and like, especially because it's like we don't get a whole lot of like Peter growth in this novel. Like, this is
Right.
like the only really bit of Peter growth we get.
Yeah, it is. And he's like, he really wants to have Wendy with him,
Yeah.
and we can't both have her, but he's doing like an unselfish thing actually, which is
Hmm. It's
definitely
shocking.
growth. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was really cute, and I was like, "Aw." And then so he like unbars the windows, and he's like, "Fine, you can have Wendy, whatever. Who needs mothers?" So Wendy decides that the best way to surprise their mother was by everybody sneaking back into bed. And then she like totally 100% thought it was still a dream. Like,
Yeah.
did not think this was actually happening at all. So she like wakes them all up, and or sorry, Wendy wakes up and she's like, "Wendy?" And then, does the whole thing to all the kids, and they all have like this big group hug,
Yeah.
which is just so sweet.
It is so sweet. I thought it was hilarious too how the kids are like peeking into the kennel and they're like, our dad's in there. Like,
Yeah.
did he always used to sleep in a kennel?
I know, and Michael doesn't remember his parents at all. Like,
Yeah.
really, it's like sad because it's like, how long were they gone?
Yeah.
Because it seems like they were only gone like a couple weeks, and then you like think it's probably been like close to a year.
Yeah.
And Michael was young enough that it's like he doesn't understand what's going on.
Yeah.
So then we are on to chapter 16, when Wendy grew up. So all like other lost boys come upstairs, and they also want a mother, basically. And they turn to Mrs. Darling as like, "Can you be our parent?" And Mrs. Darling says yes. Mr. Darling gets kind of upset, and Wendy's like, "You can't turn them down." And he's like, "I just wanted to be asked," which is such a dad thing, I feel like.
Yeah, he wants to be made to feel like he's got a say in the matter and he's
Yeah.
like, the head of the whatever.
Hmm.
I'm surprised he didn't pull out his little accounting books and start counting up how much they're
Same.
all going to cost,
That's what
right?
I thought when he was like mad. I thought he
Mhm.
was gonna pull out his accounting book, to be
How
honest.
expensive these children will be.
Yep. So Mrs. Darling says that she would adopt Peter. Um, well, they adopt all the kids basically, and then she says that she would adopt Peter, but he says he doesn't want to be a man and go into an office.
Honestly, relatable.
Same.
I mean, for a lot of people, I think,
Yeah. Like
you
you're
know,
literally looking at two creatives on this podcast, so
right. And the thought of like, I mean, I've had the desk job, and it's like I'm fortunate now to. I mean, I sit at a desk, but
yeah.
it's like fun work, and I can get up and walk around when I want to. Um, but yeah, I mean, for so many people, it's not as much of an option, and so
Yeah.
fiction can be that escape, and I feel like the author probably has that same frustration. Like, I don't know what his job was when he
Mhm.
was
Yeah, I don't either.
writing this, but for a lot of people, it's like, okay, you sit at a desk at school, you go to school, and then when you get out of school, you're expected to go sit at a desk for the rest of your life, or do some other
Mhm.
job that's repetitive, and
Yeah.
and like and hopefully you find some joy in it.
Mhm.
But it can be discouraging. And so the longing for that freedom of youth is really the main theme of this. And
Yeah. Like
yeah, who blames Peter for that? Nobody
no,
blames him for
no one
that.
plays him. Like I get it, 100%. Like definitely also don't want to work a desk job at all.
Yeah.
So, Wendy's like, where are you gonna live? Obviously, because, the tree situation is like, or the underground hut has been like invaded. So, um, Peter says that he's planning to take Wendy's house that they built and put it up in the trees with the fairies.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, I'll live in there. So then, Wendy and Mrs. Darling and Peter all make a deal that for 1 week, every single spring, Wendy will go to Neverland and live and like do spring cleaning, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah.
Um, and then Mrs. Darling gives the kiss for Peter that no one else ever gets. Like, what does that
Here we
mean?
go again with that bit. I don't know.
I don't
I don't.
understand it at all. It's so like I don't get it. Like what could
It is
that mean?
very abstract, and I would love to be able to ask the author what on earth he meant by that.
Same.
And again, I feel like he's basing this off of somebody he knew.
Yeah. Well, it's supposed to be
You
like
know?
based off like his family, like his
Is
friend's
it really?
family.
Yeah.
So I'm like, what does that
What does
mean?
that mean? Yeah.
Don't get it.
Hmm.
So then, they kind of like ramp up the timeline. They tell us that all the boys got settled into school and they lost the ability to fly. Um,
Yeah.
and then Peter like comes to her at the end of the first year and he does not remember who Hook is anymore. And they like go away for the week and come back, which I just think it's fun that she's getting a yearly vacation.
Yeah. He doesn't remember Tinkerbell either, though, and that's like,
Yeah.
it's painful.
Well, the thing too is, it's like he doesn't have a fairy he's close to anymore. He goes, well, there's a lot of them, so
Right,
I'm
right.
like,
And he says
what?
they don't live very long, so apparently she died.
Yeah. Yeah, it's weird too because it's like their lifespan is based off of children's beliefs.
Yeah.
So, that's honestly horrifying. Like, I
Yeah.
would hate my lifespan to be tied to others.
That is an interesting concept for a book. Like to expand that, right?
Yeah.
Into like to expand that idea into some universe where people's lives are tied. Anyway,
Listen,
that's
you
beside
got
the
it.
point.
Let me know what you come up with, and I will read
No,
it.
no, you should write it. Add it to your list.
I,
I have enough on my
we're
list. I
gonna
don't
like,
need one.
oh my gosh, there are gonna be two books that come out, and they're gonna be like same concept but explored very differently. Originated from this episode.
Yes.
So the next year, though, Peter does not come at all. But in the third year, he does show up and doesn't think that he missed any time. But this is the last time he ever comes. Which, like, what is time like for Peter?
Yeah, he's just beyond it, kind of, I guess.
Yeah, it seems like an endless monotony, you know?
Yeah,
Like he just doesn't he's not confined by it. He's not
right.
like he barely exists in it. And it just feels like he could take a long nap by accident and miss like 100 years.
Yeah, yeah, totally.
Scary.
Yeah.
So the next time she saw Peter, she is a married woman. But then they like flash to the boys again, and all of them have grown up with like very boring jobs. And then like the thing that's like really sad is they say something about John not being able to tell a creative story for his kid.
I know.
I know. I was
That's
like,
such a sad. It's like the
oh,
death of the imagination, you know?
yeah. Like I know it's also like in this time it was probably like the Industrial Revolution era.
Yes,
So,
yes.
these parents are working really, really hard, but like it's crazy to me seeing like these throwaway lines of like kind of bad parenting. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah,
Because it's like it was so common in that time period to not be like a great parent or like watch your kids at all because you had to
yeah,
work and provide. And it's like that scares me. And it explains how a lot of people grew up today.
yeah, yeah. It definitely affected the next generation.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially when like this is their kid literature. Like if someone handed this to me as a child, I'd be like, what? Like Tinkerbell
Yeah,
cussing up a storm. Hilarious.
I know. She's so funny.
So Wendy had a daughter that she named Jane. Um, and then they say Mrs. Darling is dead and forgotten. Like who forgets their own mother?
Yeah, I mean, dead, fine, but forgotten, like, what?
Yeah, what?
What?
And then like
He's
I
as
guess
bad as Peter.
I know because like no one, no matter how long it's been, ever forgets their mother. Like
Right.
unless they were like an infant when she died or something like that, you know?
Yeah,
Like but if
yeah,
you like grew up with your parent, like that's not a wound that just like heals, you
yeah. And
know?
I kind of don't, I really don't like that line because throughout the entire book, the role of the mother has been an important theme, you know,
Yeah.
and it's almost reducing that. Now, you know, Wendy does live, and you know, she's a mother, and then the next one's a
Mhm.
mother, her daughter's a mother, and on it goes.
Yeah.
But it's almost like after building up the role of the mother,
Mhm.
that one little bit just kind of cheapens it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, oh well, she was forgotten anyway, so like, what was the whole big deal? I
I
don't know.
know. I was like, I don't like that at all.
Yeah.
And then yeah, everybody keeps growing up in the same house. And apparently, like Peter comes back, sees Wendy, doesn't realize she's a grown adult. And then Wendy like turns on the lights and Peter cries his eyes out. He is upset.
This also confused me too because it's almost like Peter changes size and age sometimes. Because it's like she stoops down to pick up this small boy, right?
Yeah.
But then if he was the same size as Wendy,
Mhm.
I wonder if he seems different, if people perceive him differently depending on what their age is.
Maybe.
I don't know.
That makes sense.
But it almost seems like, because, you know, Wendy says he's just my size, and she wasn't sure how she knew that, but like she just knew it, you
Mhm.
know? And so I wonder if people's perception of him is a little different depending on their age. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it definitely could be. Like that would make sense because it seems like everybody thinks he's like the proper age when they're that age.
Yeah.
So then Jane, Wendy's daughter, ends up going for spring cleaning. And this is like something that carries on through the Darling line forever. Like, it seems like a curse to all these children.
Possibly.
Like, that scared me because I was like, this is something that they don't seem to have control over anymore. Like, whether they go to Neverland or not.
Yeah.
Like, they just have to go for a week every year.
Yeah.
And it's basically like Jane is just replacement Wendy. So does he treat everyone like they're Wendy? I don't know.
I don't know.
It's weird.
You know, Disney made a second Peter Pan movie, and I think it is based on either Wendy's daughter or her daughter's daughter. And I've never seen that one. So I don't know where they take it from there, but
Saw it
it
as a
is an interesting
kid.
concept.
I don't really remember it much.
Yeah.
But I do know there's a prequel, I guess, to this where it's
Okay.
called Peter Pan Kensington Gardens.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. If you get the Penguin Classic Edition, they're together. So I don't know how that happens, like because these are like based off a play. So I haven't read it, but I know it exists.
Yeah.
So yeah, that is Peter Pan. This book so dark, so easily to become a horror novel, to be honest.
Yeah.
But yeah, so over on Patreon, we are going to be discussing Wendy Darling. So keep an eyeball out on that because that is Rebecca's book, and I'm very excited about it. So keep an eyeball out for that. But Rebecca, where can all the people of the internet find you?
So I'm on Twitter at Rebecca F. Kenney 1, and I'm on TikTok, just Rebecca F. Kenney. And I'm also on Instagram at Rebecca F. Kenney Books. And I have a link tree on each of those that'll take you to all the goodies, the books, the Spotify playlists, things like that.
And it will also be in the description. So for easy access for everybody. But we will catch you all in the next episode. And make sure to go check us out on Patreon. So bye. Thank you all so much for listening to this episode of the Barely Bookish podcast. If you want to find me, I am at Barely Bookish on literally everything. And if you want some more exclusive bonus content, please consider joining the Patreon. You get exclusive episodes every single month, plus you'll get a little bonus episode this month with Peter Pan, so be sure to check that out. Also, you get early access to every episode, so instead of waiting until Wednesday, you get to experience the episodes on Monday at midnight, so that's fun. But yeah, I am at Mary the Bookish everywhere. I'm on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch. I think that's it. But all the cool places. TikTok, also TikTok. I forget TikTok sometimes. But yeah, so come hang out with me. Our next book is going to be The Aeneid, so please read that. Or don't read it if you don't want to, or whatever you'd like to do. But yeah, that's what we will be discussing next. So stay tuned, and it's going to be a whole lot of fun. Our logo was designed by my little sibling Sarah. Our theme song is by Raphael Crux on freepd.com. And I'll catch you all later. Bye!